From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Saturday it was in their words. Now it's our turn. Full scrimmage recap from a scrimmage that we weren't able to see, but we parsed through the words of the coaches and connect some dots. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code Warchant BOGO. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free, everybody, when you go to VitaminEnergy.com. Energy, vitamins, nutrients, all in one little shot. Not even 2 full ounces. Carry it everywhere you go. Put it in your gym bag, put it in your pocket, put it in your car console. But maybe not for too long. It's hot in that car. But it hasn't gone bad on me yet. 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine gets you energized for 7 hours. Minimum, I would say. But you know me, I take a half shot. You can do the same thing. Spread it out a little bit longer. But use the promo code WarChampBOGO when you go to VitaminEnergy.com. Get one free. Give them out to everybody in the office. Make them feel better too. FSU 1, that's the promo code over at warchant.com. That gets you 2 months of full premium access to warchant.com for only $1 American. Can't believe we're doing it. Cannot believe we're doing it. But take advantage of it, everybody, because we're full swing of camp. We'll be doing practice number 10, fingers crossed, this morning. But as we record this, there is a tropical storm that is set to become a hurricane, kind of barreling at Tallahassee, so we'll see whether or not they go through with practice here on Monday morning. As we record this again, they haven't changed any of the plans. What do you think, Coracle? I know your brain, your foresight is usually into matters of athletics and not meteorology, but what's your hunch? There's no way they're going to practice on Monday, is there?
I definitely don't think they'll practice at 9 a.m. Judging on our forecast models here at Warchant, looks like it's going to start hitting early morning and then roll through like maybe the middle of the afternoon, we hope, before we're in the all clear. So if they're going to practice, I don't feel like you want 100 players and 100
Minimum.
staffers
No.
to be driving in the middle of a hurricane or even a tropical storm at that point. I feel like you wait until it's pushed mostly past. So they might practice later today, but I would assume it'd be like late afternoon, early evening type thing. But we'll see. I would be surprised, especially with school canceled, if they went ahead and practiced. But hey, Georgia Tech's practicing. Just throwing that out there, gang. So you got to do what you got to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think campus is closed, but I don't even think there's classes going on right now, so they got rule of the roost. I mean, they're the football team; they always have rule of the roost, but especially now at this kind of part of the calendar. So, yeah, good point. Check out warchant.com, our Twitter feed, things of that nature. Definitely keep you updated on what's going on with the practice schedule for Monday. They will be heading to Jacksonville Wednesday, Thursday. Part of me was wondering, I wonder if they'll just head to Jacksonville early and maybe try to get some days in there and then head back here. But, yeah, maybe just wait till the afternoon. But anyway, no need to speculate on the weather. I'm not Jim Cantori. Kind of wish I was. But anyhow, I digress.
He's living a pretty good life. I feel like he doesn't go to the Hurricanes as much as he used to.
No, man. He was rocking and rolling last summer.
He's not going to be at St. George early this morning, I don't think. I think he stays maybe for if it's a Cat 4, he'll show up.
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
Like a Cat 3 or less, he's like, quit wasting my time with that stuff. I'm not showing up for a Cat 3. I'm Jim Cantori.
Right. Yeah, it's still a tropical storm as we record this, but I think it'll be hurricane by the time most folks are listening to this. Anyhow, let's get to the football part of this. Scrimmage Saturday, which we weren't able to watch, which is fine. We're just letting you know the rules. But we did get to speak to Mike Norvell and Adam Fuller after the scrimmage. I think we're actually scheduled to get Norvell and Atkins if they were to practice on Monday afterwards. Yeah. So get some insight into the offense. But let's start, I guess, on the offense. But it all ties back because it's inter-squad. You're going against your own team. But I thought Mike was not dejected by any stretch. I do think he was a little bit bummed. I think he was hoping his team would maybe a little bit further ahead, or maybe further ahead is not the right way to describe it, but at least some of the clean that you want to see out of your team when you're kind of approaching 10 practices would kind of start manifesting itself. But it sounds like some of the inconsistency, which you've decoded to mean one certain facet of the offense struggling, seems to have reared its head on Saturday night out there.
Yeah, but, and then you start – because, again, we can't watch them. So we have to speculate, which is what every college, other college beat has to do every day. We just have to speculate for scrimmages. But they were live tackling, which is something that you never know for sure. But Adam Fuller confirmed that. And then, but the bigger point is we have no idea who played. Like, it doesn't sound like his starting offensive line, or what we perceive to be the starting offensive line, played a whole lot. He said that I can't
Four
remember
of the guys, Darius and Maurice. You know, I think
said Darius and Maurice were like, quote, very limited.
Right. Yeah.
And they have been practicing every day. We can't throw that out there. They just why they have 2,000 snaps of college football. Why put them out there? And then who were the other ones?
Jeremiah Byers and Robert Scott.
Yeah, played very few snaps, or so that's how it was termed. Like, played little
snap counts. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were on snap counts. So it's like, all right, well then what was out there? You know, what was out there? And I can't imagine Toafili played much. Don't know how much Malik would have played. Morlock might not have played a ton. It just felt to me almost, just talking to Norvell, listening to Norvell talk and listening to Fuller talk, it almost sounded like one of those Sunday practices after a game, where it was like a developmental scrimmage, and that's not what you necessarily use a scrimmage for. But it's 120, 130 plays. Shaheem doesn't sound like he was limited. Azarie and Cypress were limited. It sounded like Josh Farmer and Patrick Payton were limited. So it's like, in limited, use that however you want. Feel free to come up with your own definition for that. But yeah, man, a lot of your really good players either played very sparingly or did not play at all, it sounds like. So it was you're gonna see some hiccups and some up and downs when you're playing such those kind of players that have such little experience. Doesn't mean you're going to be happy if they don't perform well, and it doesn't sound like the offense did a whole lot other than, I guess, a couple of big plays on broken plays and then a marathon drive. But so you're not going to be happy with that. But it's also understandable, right, when you're playing with so many newcomers.
Yeah, I would think, though, that probably at least 2 or 3 drives you're rolling out there with something as close to your ones as you possibly can. But you bring up the good point about maybe like a guy like Toafili's probably not out there, because I think that monster drive that you mentioned, Fuller said that it got capped off with like Sam Singleton scoring a touchdown.
Yes.
So take that as you will when it comes to depth and guys that are out there. But I still think, I don't think Morlock is a guy that you necessarily are going to shut down this early. Like, I understand to a certain extent kind of shutting down Maurice and Darius, but it feels like DJ's probably still out there. I can't imagine why you would not have your best receivers out there, because those guys need all the reps they can get working with that quarterback. But, these things happen. I guess at this point, defense is still ahead of your offense. But it just sounds like when there's plays to be made and you're not making them, that's going to be a little bit frustrating. For me, that just kind of sounds like guys getting open and either the throw's not being made. But when you say that your the quarterbacks, plural, were putting the ball on the spot, then it sounds like it's probably falling on the receivers, which is becoming a little bit of a trend.
Yeah, but we also we really don't know. We can speculate. We don't know which receivers were. Yeah. We don't know which receivers were playing and how much. Norvell did. Norvell. I speak a little bit of Norvell-ese.
Norvellian?
When he says we didn't finish the play, we got open, but we didn't finish the play. Right. That means they dropped the ball. Yeah. It sounds like there were multiple drops on what could have been big plays. But I don't know if it's Deuce Spann doing that, Malik Benson doing that, a walk-on doing that, Cam Fryer. We have no idea. The good news is they're getting open, I guess. The bad news is, like Norvell said, you got to finish the play, you got to execute till the end. But yeah, he did say they had a couple of big plays when quarterbacks broke containment. Don't know who the quarterback was that made the big play. Don't know who the receiver was that caught the big play. Sounded like Elijah Moore might have caught a couple of them, though. Which, again, I expect Elijah Moore is going to be a very good player in this program. I don't expect him to play a ton this season.
No, I'm saying, yeah.
So who's making that throw? Who is he going up against? It's all, all the context that we're really able to provide for the most part during practice. We have no idea during the scrimmage. We have no context. Who threw it? Who was on the field? Who was rushing the passer? So it is hard. It is hard to Yeah, Adam Fuller said that he wasn't happy.
We've seen 9 practices though, Corey. I don't think Elijah Moore's going to suddenly roll out there with DJ Uiagalelei the whole time.
Right. But I'm saying, who was he going up against? Did he beat Edwin Joseph,
Probably.
or did he beat a walk-on? Yeah. By the way, Edwin Joseph did have an interception in the scrimmage, And I'm almost positive he had one in Friday's practice, too.
Yeah, he did.
So that's good to see. And I know he had an interception because my man Fuller tweeted it.
Mission takeaway.
Mission takeaway.
Let's do it.
So that's good to see. KJ Kirkland had a PBU on a 4th down attempt. So those were the two takeaways it looked like. But no, so we just don't. We've seen enough practices to know the receivers still have a ways to go to be overall difference makers. Again, Malik Benson, good player. Ja'Kai Douglas gets open a lot. Don't know where Hakeem and where McCoy, where Portier, where Deuce even fit into all this, but they will fit in somehow. Darian Williamson too. But, you want to see more from the receivers. It's just we don't know in that context. They obviously weren't going up against AZ. If Elijah Moore beats Azareye'h Thomas in a scrimmage, that's something to get excited about, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think he was playing him. But also, I was going back to Fuller. Fuller said that they were disruptive. He liked what he saw from the defensive line in the run game for the most part. He said he did not like the pass rush at all. Kind of lamented that, actually. He said, I thought we'd be better rushing the passer. Again, though, were your starting defensive ends playing a lot at all? Was like Lola Hea? It sounded like Durajai got a lot of reps. Probably Grady Kelly got some reps. Doesn't sound like Darrell Jackson and Josh Farmer got a ton of reps. So, it's hard to know, especially against that O-line that wasn't your normal O-line, what to take away from that scrimmage. Norvell did say that he thought they got out of it relatively healthy. It sounded like there were some, as he phrases it, bumps and bruises or some things they got to – I don't think he used that phrase, but some stuff they got to check on. But he didn't seem overly concerned. But then again, it'd be weird if he did. Like, guys, I can't tell you, but we had a horrible injury.
That's why that's why we started this at 10 o'clock when we were supposed to start at 9:30.
Yeah, that's why we're 40 minutes late with this interview is because we couldn't get over how bad this injury was. Like, he's never going to be the guy that says that. If that injury that happened to Jordan Travis against North Alabama had happened in a scrimmage, Norvell would have been like, yeah, we got to see. Going to take some time and see. Jordan got a little banged up, it looked like. I love him to death. I love the access he grants. We're never going to be able to get much on the injury side. But it did, hearing him talk, sound like there was nothing major maybe, we hope. And that's good because they were tackling. And, but tackles can create injuries.
How do you process a 19 or 20 to 24 play drive that spanned 97 yards, ended apparently with a Sam Singleton touchdown where the ball was on the 2, they broke through the line and had him 4 yards dead to rights behind the line of scrimmage, but he ends up still scoring a touchdown. And you also, Fuller talks about it's quarterback here, quarterback there. It kind of sounds like it's 3rd and 4, and our pass rush wasn't great tonight, and he just got scrambled? Or do you think that's RPO, read option, and we've got a new weapon in the legs of DJ Uiagalelei?
It does sound like that DJ was the quarterback for that drive. I think Norvell certainly made it sound like that, even though Singleton scored the touchdown. And I don't foresee Singleton playing a lot with DJ this year unless some injuries happen. I do think that DJ was the quarterback for most of that drive, and Norvell talked about how he took what the defense gave him. All right, so if it's 3rd and 3 and you can run for 4, do it. If it's 3rd and 3 and there's somebody open in the flat, or if it's 1st and 10 and there's somebody open in the flat and you get 7 yards, do it. That's cool. I don't think that's going to be something that this offense will be known for is 20-play drives. I think they expect and hope to be more of a big play offense than that. But, yeah, man, 20-play, 97-yard drives, that especially when you're not probably working with a lot of first-teamers up front, that's not a bad sign. That's guys making plays and as we like to say, cash down, rubbing our fingers together, thumb and forefinger or index finger. That's good to see that they converted well on 3rd downs. Obviously, on the flip side, it is the Florida State defense that's giving up all those 3rd downs. Again, though, was Shaheed – I don't think people understand. I think you do. I don't know why I'm dismissing you guys' football intellect or just your knowledge of this program. If Shaheem Brown isn't playing, what he means just communication-wise on the field can't be overstated. So if he's sitting on the sidelines, you're losing a coach, honestly. I feel like you're losing a coach that gets to play in the game. So I don't know how much that, not having Cypress, Azareye'h, Shaheem, maybe they played some of that drive, and then after the 11th play, they're like, all right, your night's done. Everybody else get in there. I don't know. Have no idea. But I doubt they were on the field for 20-something plays. So it's hard to know what to take away from that drive necessarily, other than sounds like the quarterback converted some third downs, which is that's where your money, that's where the bread is buttered. That's where those are the money downs. Third down in red zone. That's what separates average from good and from good to great. And it sounds like on that drive, at least, they did what they had to do, and Singleton made an impact
Gutty.
play. Yeah, Fuller was high on him, by the way. Not just that run. He unsolicited. He talked about how impressed he was with the way Sam Singleton ran and how hard he ran. So that's good to see, because Sam Singleton isn't a guy that I've thought of as like a tackle breaker. He's just fast, but he's I wouldn't call him, Earl Campbell or Greg Jones or somebody like that. But if he's breaking tackles like that, that's good to see, running hard. But it just, to me, it also says that maybe some of the guys that you probably feel are higher up on the depth chart weren't playing a lot on Saturday night.
Yeah, Fuller did mention, I think, in that first drive that they're still kind of in a frame of mind to play it out the way you're going to maybe play it in the season, where you're going to start rotating guys in early. So that might have been a drive where, like, I don't think necessarily like Farmer and Jackson are on there for 95% of the snaps. They might be rolling guys in for certain sub packages. So we'll touch more on that throughout the show here. But got to remind you folks that there's daily lunch specials going on over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill here in Tallahassee, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com. That is the website. You can check out the menu, or I can read it to you right now. Lunch special today. Obviously, it's Monday. It's Victory Burgers. Build your own burger. Half-pound, all black Angus beef, lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle. But then a side dish of your choice. Straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, coleslaw, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. You can have one of those and that delicious half-pound black Angus burger for only $8.99. Still can't believe that's crazy, Bill. What are you doing? What are you doing, wild man? And don't forget, tomorrow night, Trivia Night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 7 o'clock. So always something going on, whether it's the day in the lunch specials or during the night with some social activities, if you will. Can't go wrong. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Corey, thoughts on maybe this running game, finding some sort of grit? I don't want to say that like Trey Benson wasn't a tough runner, because my gosh, he was a big human being. But to kind of hear Fuller talk about a guy like Singleton breaking tackles, running really hard. And I think, when I asked Norvell about, the running game last year was kind of that 1 yard, 2 yard, 40-yard attack, which I wasn't complaining about. I wonder if this team will be like, you're not going to get a lot of negative plays. There's not going to be a lot of 1 yard runs. There's not going to be a lot of negative 3 yard runs. Maybe you don't get the 50-yard runs, but live in that 5, 6, 7 pop, 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 pop. Do you think that is something that is a priority for this program right now, to get a running game that's going to not only be productive but consistent in that sort of level of production?
Yeah, sure. Of course. That's what the 2022 offense is what I think Norvell wants to see from this team. That was a run-heavy team. We've talked about it a lot. They beat the tar out of Syracuse and Miami back-to-back, and threw for like 350 yards total in those two games, and ran it down their throats. That's what they want. That's what he wants this offense to be. I think it's what this offense is set up to be, especially because you still don't know what you have at wide receiver, so it's hard to be like, okay, we're going to be an aired-out team. But you got a good stable of backs, and you've got a big offensive line that can move people. So, yeah, and a quarterback that can get you some first downs, too. He's obviously not a track star, but he can get you some first downs, too, and it's tough. So, yeah, I think that's exactly what they want to be. It's what we've seen. Again, we haven't gotten to see them tackle, and Fuller lamented how poorly his team tackled on Saturday night, but he also, it's to be expected. They never get to tackle. He made it, by the way, it was funny. He made it very clear that he has no problem with the way they practice. He was complaining about how they tackled, but he in no time was like, it'd be nice if we could tackle some in practice, but we don't get to. He's like, I understand how football is today. I understand this is how it has to be, and I completely agree with it. So we try, they have drills every day to try to work on tackling or getting a position to tackle, but not actually tackling. I would say if you get 20 extra scholarships, maybe like the last 10 guys on who's going to play 100 players. The last 90 numbers 96 to 105 are essentially scholarship tackling dogs. Right? You got to go get tackled, kid. 15 to 18 to 20 times a game. You're going to be like Trey Benson got tackled 20 times in a game. Get in shape because you're going to get tackled a lot. So are your friends. We've got to get better at practice. We got to get better at tackling. We have to practice tackling. You are on scholarship to be tackled. I think that might be something that happens.
Part of me feels like that's totally demeaning, but then I wonder if you ask John Q, walk-on, whether they're at Florida State or UCLA, hey, like, would you want to be on full scholarship, get full benefits, like meal table, get to travel, all that sort of stuff, but you're going to get the crap kicked out of you for 3 days a week during the season? What do you think? Probably 80% of those kids sign up for it?
If you're talking about like football players that want to play at Florida State, yeah, they're competitors, number one, and they think they're good, and some of them are. And it's funny. As I was saying that, I remembered, when Warwick Dunn made his splash at Florida State. Back then, they tackled kind of every practice. This was 1993. He was a freshman. We all know the story. He came in as a DB/running back. They gave him a week at running back. He said he'd sign with Florida State, but you got to promise me to give me a chance on offense. And the reason, he started out behind Sean Jackson, Tiger McMillan, Marquette Smith. He was at least fourth string when he started camp. But as he went through practice, being tackled, he also got to show how, look, this kid avoids tackles a lot. He's really hard to tackle. Maybe he should be playing more with our guys. That's another way you can stand out, because it's hard to show if you can break tackles or not anymore, because you never get a chance to. Sam Singleton never gets tackled, right?
Right, correct.
He just doesn't, because he doesn't play in games or hasn't, and in practice they don't tackle. Well, on Saturday night he showed, at least for a glimpse there, hey, man, I'm hard to tackle. I think that gives him a chance to maybe climb a depth chart. It certainly opens coaches' eyes. And so, yeah, Corey Clark, who's managing the Florida State program, those last 10 scholarships, I want probably 7 running backs. You get a full scholarship to play at Florida State. You get to say and not lie to women or whoever you're out with on a Friday night or a Thursday night in April. I am a scholarship running back at Florida State University, and they can look it up and see it's true. Now, you don't have to tell them, yeah, I'm 11th string, and I run around so DJ Lundy can get some reps in. But either way, because it just makes sense. And what concerns you a bit about this game, the first game of the season, man, Georgia Tech's got some dudes on offense now. That quarterback is hard to tackle. That running back is good.
Very good.
And if you've only practiced tackling twice, which I think they get 2 scrimmages, right? They thud. It's not like they're not physical. They thud up, but they're not bringing guys to the ground. They are expressly forbidden to bring guys to the ground, so it's going to be hard the first week or two to tackle.
Ask Jaden Daniels how it felt to get tackled week 1.
Good point. Tatum Bethune is just a tackling machine. Yeah. These other guys might need a few more reps, but yeah, it's. But I thought that was funny, and I also thought I thought something else Fuller said that was interesting. He said they're definitely going to have. He foresees them having 6 defensive tackles that rotate.
Yeah.
That he thinks he can play. Now he also brought up, it's not going to be just Darrell Jackson and Farmer playing together all the time. Sometimes it'll be Darrell Jackson playing with a second stringer or a third stringer or vice versa. They're going to mix and match, but he has 6 guys that he likes at defensive tackles that they do think they're going to rotate in and out and play.
Who are we thinking there? So Farmer and Jackson.
Durajai.
And Grady Kelly.
KJ Sampson and Daniel Lyons. I think those are the 6.
That's not bad. That's good.
It's not bad. So you could see Daniel Lyons playing with Josh Farmer. He said we're going to try to, whatever their strengths are, we're going to try to use them, whatever their tools are. Because, honestly, if you know a team is going 5 wide and passing it in a 1-minute drill, maybe Daniel Lyons makes more sense than to have Josh Farmer on the field for 11 snaps in a row. You know what I mean? Like, Daniel Lyons, I think, is probably a little quicker and maybe can create a gap and get through a gap and make a sack or get a pressure that Farmer might not be able to do or is often. Who knows? But I do think that they're going to try to that I thought that was interesting that they're going to have 6 tackles that they rotate. And then also when he talked about the DBs, And he didn't let anything. I just love listening to Fuller talk, man. We don't get to do it. I think it's the first time we've done it this preseason.
It is.
When he was talking about the DBs, and he's like, "Look, you recruit these guys, and it always comes down." I'm paraphrasing wildly here, but I know this was the sentiment: is once you get a few of these guys here that you recruited, some of them aren't going to be able to play for you. This is not what he said. This is what he meant. I'm speaking Fuller here.
Got to hit.
Just through college football, you don't hit on all of them. So some of them you realize pretty soon, they can't play. And then he listed off all the guys, literally I think every guy on the team, from Rawls to Knight to Lester to Azaria and Cypress. He's like, they all can play. Like, they can all help us. And I tell you, watching the first 8 practices, or 9, I don't know if the scrimmage was the 9th or the 10th, he's not wrong. Is there a scholarship DB? Don't name names. Is there a scholarship DB that you look at and go, yeah, man, he has no chance of ever getting on the field at Florida State? Because I don't see him. I think Joseph is making plays. Rawls really came on last week. Y'all know what I think about Ricky Knight. He's the next Dion. And then you got Devontae Brown can play at safety. Obviously, Shaheem and Cypress and Thomas. Kirkland and Barker have their moments. Literally, there's like no scrubs in that secondary, right? That's
accurate. I could go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what he said. He's like, in one-on-ones, you really see how much talent we have. Because, they do win a lot more than they lose in one-on-ones, this collection of Florida State DBs. He goes, the difference between like a Shaheem and a Cypress and a Thomas and those younger guys, the guys that don't have the experience, is on the field with communication and matching the coverages, like knowing where they're supposed to be. Like straight up talent-wise, I should have mentioned Quindarius Jones too, because he's probably been the 3rd best DB this camp. Coverage-wise, it's just knowing where you're supposed to be. Like, but straight on talent for talent, they're all good. He's wrong. He's right. They did not just completely whiff on any of these kids, in my opinion.
Yeah,
which is a good place to be.
Yeah. I just don't want people to think that they've got some sort of pipeline now where they're not going to lose a beat no matter who they roll out there. Because there's a sizable drop off from Shaheem Brown, and then I think I don't want Edwin Joseph and Jabril Rawls out there on 3rd and 8. No offense to those, because they're going to. I think they've got tools that maybe at some point they can be relied upon, but like right now,
well, that's because they're young, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying the talent, you wouldn't be like,
the athleticism and they're making flashes, so it's not just falling into a play. Like they're figuring out where to be at certain points. But you also look around, you're like, all right, man, like we need to make sure that we've got some other guys that are ready right now, because what I found interesting from what Adam Fuller was talking about, obviously with Shaheem and just how important he is. I think I was talking a week or so ago about, I don't know if there's any bigger drop-off between like 1A and 1B into your next guys, as going from Farmer and Jackson to then like Grady Kelly and KJ Sampson or whoever else you want to put at 2 or at 3 and 4. But maybe the real answer really is Shaheem at safety, because after Shaheem, it's unproven guys. I mean, yes. I know everybody loves Conrad Hussey, and I think Conrad Hussey is going to probably be a good football player, but he has not played a lot of meaningful football. I mean, he got in there towards the end of last season, but it was maybe like the last 5-6 games of the year. And he mentioned the fact that like they need to get those safeties reps in these scrimmages, which is what they really try to do. And Shaheem needs to stay healthy, and somebody like Ashlyn Barker needs to probably push Conrad Hussey so that they have some real options at safety right now. That's like the only concern I have on the defense right now. Maybe even more so than linebacker, because again, I just don't know how much of a liability linebackers are in this day and age with the way the football is played.
Yeah, I think safety is, and look, Shaheem is a talented kid. He's an athletic kid. I don't know if I call him a freak, but he's very, very fast. Just watching him run with those speedsters on the Florida State team, when he has the angle, they don't usually get by him. He's a fast kid and a really good football player and talented, but it's that mind, man. It's him. Just the experience of knowing where he's supposed to be. I will stress this. I think I've brought it up on this before. When he's not on the field, when he's not playing, he will go behind the offense, where the coaches are, and the analysts are, and he's calling out to the safeties that are 20 yards away on the other side what to do. He's looking at the defense from the quarterback's point of view, and then telling the safety where to be. Now, obviously, that won't happen in a game where it's offsides. It's a penalty, gang. You can't be back there with DJ. But he's literally like, or whoever the quarterback is, he'll stand, I would say, 3 yards behind Brock Glenn before he takes the snap, telling those young safeties where to be. You just can't put a price tag on that. Just that knowledge of where to be. It's so, like, yes, you want talent. You want 5 stars. You want those NFL freaks, clearly. But just being a smart football player and not being confused and being where you're supposed to be, and in his position specifically, knowing where other people are supposed to be, it's such an advantage that not every college defense has. So Shyheim is, you could say, I don't know where he finished in our top 40, but after 10 days of practice, I would say he probably finished a little lower than he should have. Just as you watch the dynamics of these practices, how important he is to those other defensive guys.
I'm at 5. You had him at 6. We had him at 9 as a company.
Well, you and I were right.
Yeah.
I think that's about right. Just because he's so meaningful to those other guys.
He's the linchpin. Like he is that prototypical guy back there for you. And even more important than my whole philosophy on linebackers, I think it's hearing the way Fuller talked about safeties and how important it was for them to get guys reps. And then the way he kind of talked about the linebackers. He mentioned Nicholson, he mentioned Riley, he mentioned Juice Cryer. Omar Graham's also a guy, too, that no matter whenever we ask about linebackers, nobody ever says Omar Graham, but Adam Fuller always finds a way to shoehorn Omar Graham in there. He seems to feel really good about where they're at with linebacker right now. So I think that more than anything should maybe alleviate the concerns that people have when they think about the linebacker position. Because, I mean, we've mentioned Cam Riley on and on and on over and over and over. But when we've talked to Fuller now here for the first time this preseason, he was not bothered at all. I shouldn't say bothered at all. I mean, he seemed completely kind of confident, or at least pleased with where they're at right now at linebacker, which I haven't seen any cause for concern at that spot. Have you, Corey?
No, again, it's just the, when they do hit some of those big plays up the middle, you wonder, okay, is that just great blocking or is a linebacker not seeing it well? That's some stuff that you wonder about. But, last year I thought they hit some plays in practice, especially 2 years ago. They hit plays in practice very similar to that. And, you had 2 pretty good linebackers that were experienced. So maybe it's not Nicholson and Cryer or Graham and Riley or Murphy taking bad angles or choosing the wrong hole or not seeing it well. But that's given me a little concern. But, other than that, it's just something we'll have to see. I think that they seem to like these linebackers. I think there is a chance that Nicholson and Cryer could take some lumps this year, have some hand-wringing moments, have people throwing their hands in the air, say, what is he looking at? How did he get caught there? Why is he running there? But maybe by the middle of 2025, you'll be like, these guys are incredible. Like, there is a chance that happens. Like, Nicholson and Cryer have some stuff to them. They're bigger than they look. They're more physical than they look, and they can both run. I think Cryer, to me, a lay person, seems a little more instinctual as a linebacker than Nicholson. Nicholson, I feel like, got by a ton on his athleticism and pure physicality out where he played in high school. He was also a running back a lot of the time. Cryer seems more maybe like a natural linebacker. But Nicholson, he had a really good practice last week where he had, what did we talk about? He had 2 tackles for loss in a row, or at least 2 tackles near the line of scrimmage where he just triggered and made really good plays, and then had blanket coverage on Morlock to cause an incompletion. So he's got some stuff to him, man. They're just young, and young guys are going to make mistakes. You just hope they're not killer mistakes that cost you football games.
Yeah, and then just the last kind of sort of thing here for this segment, at least, just big picture-wise from the scrimmage, what you feel good about where this team is at right now, if I were you folks, and what I'm going to say is that Fuller was asked what's the identity of the defense, and he's talking about effort, execution, and consistency is what he needs to see out of anybody that wants to get on the field behind these guys that are proven. But he said that he knows they're going to play hard, and that's not like that's a high bar to climb with his expectations. And he says that he's not going to overlook that fact because it is hard to give effort constantly. So the fact that you've got a defense right now that's playing really hard, flying to the ball, you'll figure out they've got, again, that was the 9th practice, so they've got 16 more of these before they're going to play Georgia Tech. You have a good feeling they're going to be able to get stuff cleaned up because that's all about communication and going through more reps. they have the right mindset. And then offensively, Norvell talked about just the way they ran the ball on Saturday night, where there were tough yards. There was that grinding it out and getting 4 yards, getting 5 yards on maybe only a 1 yard play that was that's all that was kind of available at the time. So that your offense is, you're running the ball really hard right now. Your defense is working really hard. Like that's a good place, and you don't have any major injuries seemingly. That's a good place to be coming out of your first scrimmage.
Yeah, and you got you got another week of practice, then another scrimmage. You got another scrimmage next Saturday after the 2-day. You got I think you're supposed to practice Monday and Tuesday here, and then Wednesday and Thursday in Jacksonville. Another scrimmage on Saturday, and then you're into game week almost. You start, I assume, like really game planning for Georgia Tech after that. So yeah, I think you don't want to overlook the fact that they do play hard. You don't want to overlook that fact. Obviously talent is probably, I don't know, if you were ranking like traits of a defense and how important they are, not of a player but of a collective defense, I would think, I don't know, playing hard, physical, if that all combines into one, might be the most important. Like there's so many times where you look at guys that are just okay being blocked. Right. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, this guy's pretty strong and it's going to take a lot of effort to get by this guy. My teammates got it. They don't seem to have a lot of those guys. They have a lot of guys that like, no, it's my job to make that tackle. It's my job to make this play. And they do play hard because you have to here. You just have to. And Fuller did talk about that they've established that part of the defense in this program, the culture, where you know they're going to play. That's the baseline. But he doesn't take it for granted, like he said, because it is hard to give max effort on every play. It is hot, and they are tired. But he loved what he saw from them and loved what he saw from the defense as a whole so far this preseason. When he's asked, he said that's the identity right now, is I know they play hard. You want them to play smart too. Those are the two, right? If you can have a defense that plays hard and plays smart, well, you're going to have a pretty good defense. Might not be exceptional. Like Georgia does all that, and they have NFL dudes everywhere. So, but if you could just play hard and play smart, you're going to beat most. And I feel like the hard part, like the playing hard aspect, he knows is there. The communication aspect, I feel like he's still a little bit trepidatious about. He's worrying about a little bit. And I think a lot of that, quite frankly, has to do with the inexperience at linebacker. Like, those guys are smart players. Justin Cryer is incredibly bright. They're bright guys. So is Riley and Murphy, for example. All of them, really, are smart guys. But it's like, okay, are they football smart? And are they able to communicate with 10 other guys about where they're supposed to be? That's the kind of stuff that still hasn't been proven, and that's where inexperienced linebacker play can really hurt you a little bit. Not untalented, just inexperienced. I mean, you lost two guys that had played combined for like 9 or 10 years of football the last year in Deloach and Bethune. So that's not something you just replace right away. You might replace them with better players. Like, for all we know, Nicholson and Cryer and Riley, you're going to have a more talented trio than last year's trio of Bethune, Deloach, and I guess Lundy would be the third. Pound for pound, talent for talent, they might be more talented. It doesn't matter if they're not where they're supposed to be. So that's still something they're working on. That was long-winded, but I'm doing my best, folks.
I'm relatively sure if Adam Smith, the father of economics, was with us today, he would be a fan of Manscaped. Smith, as you all remember, argued things like the invisible hand and, more importantly, specialization, saying that companies are going to grow, hires are going to be made, and they should have defined roles and specialize in one skill. So yeah, you've got some clippers, but they have a role. Manscaped has a more specialized place in a man's grooming arsenal. Some might say a more delicate role, one involving the moneymaker, to bring it back to Adam Smith and economics. How about the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra? It features skin-safe blades and a cordless design, which is kind of clutch. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code WARCHANT at manscaped.com. 20% discount, free shipping. Manscaped.com. Be him and trim. Last thing before we get to this last question from the mailbag last week. We'll have another one of these, obviously, this coming week. Follow them on Instagram, everybody. Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. We're going to do the drawing for the monthly winner for July, so tune into that show. And we'll do a live show, I think, on Wednesday, which I'll be in Jacksonville, so we'll see how that works out, Corey. Corporate's all about having consistent days and times, so we want to try to do Wednesdays at 6, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, everybody. But, Corey, there's a time either in 2022 or 23 where I was still like it was probably 2022 because I wasn't too cynical last year. But anytime a play would happen in practice with Jordan and a linebacker or defensive end would get past the line of scrimmage, I'd be like, all right, man, like Jordan probably, I'm going to mark that down as a sack. And you'd be like, nope. In a real game, he's running and he's going to get 6 or 7 yards minimum. Like, and I was never I'm like, he's not that amazing, but he kind of was. Hearing Adam Fuller talk about that drive where it's like, we're just going to get off the field. You get in these moments and it's a quarterback here, it's a quarterback there. Is DJ at a point, and I know you didn't get to see the scrimmage on Saturday, none of us did, but are you at a point where you think about DJ and a 3rd and 4 and there's really tight coverage, but it's still, I don't know, like a 60% chance that they're going to convert because DJ is going to be able to elude a rusher and find an alley and run for a first down? Has he earned that level of reputation for you yet?
No, not yet. I will say this. It's not just the eluding either when it comes to him and the pass rush. It's like
it's the force, the mass.
But it's like he's so big that he doesn't get skittish when linemen are near him because he's big as they are. So, like, of course he's going to want to avoid pressure. He doesn't want to get blindsided and strip sacked and all that. But if there's guys near his feet or if there's guys that are on him, he knows he's big and strong enough that he doesn't have to frantically get rid of the ball occasionally. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if it's not – like sometimes when you extend a play, when you think about a quarterback extending a play, you think about, I don't know, like Jordan against Florida a couple of years ago, those crazy runs he had. Well, DJ clearly isn't going to do that. But DJ could just throw a guy off him and still calmly look downfield. He could slowly roll to his right. A linebacker could be coming full steam, and DJ doesn't feel like he has to turn on the jets to get by him. He will swat him aside. He's so big, and when he's moving, he is really hard to bring down, even if it doesn't mean he's going to run for 15 yards. He just pushes him aside, waiting for the receiver to break free that he's looking at. I foresee that being a strength of his, I hope. We don't get to see that a lot, obviously, in practice because he's not being tackled or wrapped up or anything. But I don't think he's earned the right yet to be like, okay, it's 3rd and 4. He's going to, in our minds, he's earned the right in his own mind because he's done it the last 2 years and he's played in 40 games. So he knows he can do it. But you're asking me, the guy that's only watched him play, 4 full games in his life, how if he's earned the benefit of the doubt with me that he's going to make the right decision on these 3rd downs and he's going to be a 65% converter of 3rd downs. And no, he hasn't. And through 9 or 10 practices, this offense hasn't earned that yet. But it could be coming, and let's hope it does.
All right, our guy FSU Man 5030 wants us to play bookmaker and set the odds on 5 props he has laid out for us.
Oh, geez. All right.
First prop, the odds he wants. FSU averages over 200 yards rushing per game. Plus 250? Plus 150?
I'd say in
minus?
The middle of those two. No, not a minus. I'd say in the middle of those two, like plus 200.
Okay.
Maybe plus 150. I think it's 35% chance, if we want to give it a percentage chance, 35 to 45% chance that they can they'll average 200 yards a game rushing.
He wants odds. He wants you to be a bookmaker. He doesn't want you to be an actuarial scientist.
Yeah, I know. I've tried, but not everybody listening to us knows what plus 250 means. Right. So I was trying to give it more of a layman's terms. I think less than 50-50 chance that they'll do that, but certainly wouldn't be a stunner if they did.
What did they have last year? I mean, last year you know what they averaged rushing per game last year, Corey?
144.
150.
Okay, yeah. So I think they'll be better than that.
Okay. Odds that Azareye'h Thomas is an Associated Press All-American first or second team.
I'd say same thing, plus 200, plus 250. You got to have numbers, or he's got to make some big plays in big moments. And
you got to go up against probably like really, really, really good receivers and shut them down. I don't know how many opportunities they'll have for that.
I guess I can't name you. I can't tell you who who were the corners last year. The kid from Iowa, maybe the Wiggins from Clemson. Like I don't know who the
guys from Bama, right? McKinstry.
Oh
and,
yeah, that's true. But they had their names. Honestly, they kind of had their names coming out of high school, especially McKinstry. Right. And it's like they
Terry and Arnold. Sorry,
they're very good players, by the way. I'm not taking anything away from them. But they're also manifested. Like, oh, yeah, that guy's going to be awesome in a couple of years. And, oh, there's Terry and Arnold. He's really good. Let's start voting. And they earned it. I'm not saying that. Azaria didn't have quite the name. He doesn't play for Alabama. He didn't start last year, although he was, he might have been their best corner overall, him and Renardo. He didn't start. So he doesn't have quite the name recognition that these other guys have. And going to become an All-American at a position like corner, in my opinion, where you're not going to put up huge stats, you kind of have to have a name going into the season. Now, he's not a nobody, and I do think his name will start showing up on mock drafts, and that always helps with these kind of votings, saying as a voter myself, but he wasn't even first-team preseason All-ACC. So that's why I think it'll be the odds are against it, but again, not impossible. Plus 200, plus 250.
For what it's worth, ESPN ranked their top 10 defensive backs of the preseason, so this also includes safeties, and Fentrell was 12th. He was also receiving votes. So if you want to go, he was the 12th most votes received. So, all right, odds,
but not Azaria.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And Azaria is better than Fentrell. Love you to death, Fentrell. Yeah. Azaria is better than you.
But that's like, I guess, the name recognition thing for whatever reason.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Over 2.5 Noles getting drafted in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
First under.
Well, I mean, but what are the odds that there's going to be more?
Oh, yeah. Well, how do you do odds?
Plus 350?
So plus 400.
Plus 400, okay.
Yeah. I don't know who, I guess your DNs. I mean, it's not a bad bet, though. If I said something like that at plus 400, I would certainly put some money on it because you've got 2.5. Maybe DJ has an awesome season. And that arm plays. That arm is enticing. And then also, if he looks the part, maybe he works himself. Nobody thought Penix was a first-round pick, and the Falcons drafted him in the top 10 after signing a quarterback to a $100 million contract. So you never know how these NFL teams are going to treat quarterbacks. Then also we just talked about Azaria, the 2 defensive ends, one of those defensive tackles, maybe both, and then who knows what Malik is. Maybe Benson turns himself into a top 2 round pick.
I was about to say something funny. I totally forgot.
Can't save it for the next show.
Probably wasn't that funny. 2 more. Kyle Morlock going over 550 yards this season.
Plus
odds.
800. Plus 800.
Okay.
That's just a lot. That's a lot of yardage. I don't know the last time they had a tight end that went over 550.
Jaheim had 503 and he was hurt for last half of the year.
Yeah.
And they had Johnny and Keon ahead of him, so Morlock might be your number 2 guy this year.
You're right, and that's only about 48 yards a game probably if you play 13. No. Plus 400.
Oh, I like it.
I cut it in half. Yeah, plus 800. I was going to lose a ton of money. I had to shut down the books.
Okay. FSU winning 11 or more games this season in the regular season and the conference championship game. So
worst they'd be is 11-2. I would put that at plus 300.
Okay.
250 to 300. Tough schedule.
Yeah, I don't have much disagreement on that. I like all the numbers you set there, Corey.
Okay, great.
Maybe we'll start our own
Let's start. Why don't we do this?
I mean, somebody out there wants.
Is that illegal? That's not illegal, is it? To just gamble?
Did you ever know a bookie in your life, like a real? I never knew anybody. If I wanted to make a bet. Yeah. 20 years ago, I didn't know somebody who knew somebody that knew the guy. I only thought that stuff was in the movies. No, I didn't. Not really. I knew they were out there, and I knew people that knew them. So if I wanted to bet, I could find one. But not really until I started hanging out with Jeff and Tom did I meet an actual bookie. But then again, that wasn't his real job. I've never met somebody or even heard of somebody whose only job is to do that. But apparently they're out there, or they were out there. I guess it's harder to be a bookie anymore with all the online gambling sites. But, yeah,
Yeah. It's odd. It's an odd job. But, hey, probably a lucrative one.
Some people like that face-to-face interaction, that handshake,
Yeah.
Corey, you know?
You're right.
Instead of just tap and submit on a button, and who knows what happens there. All right, that's a wrap for us. There was a ample scrimmage recap for you folks there. Yeah. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock, permitting that there's electricity in the city of Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And the internet hasn't gone down. Fingers crossed, good vibes, everybody who is in harm's way. We will follow up with another show if there's a practice at some point on Monday. We'll follow up with another show on Tuesday. We're doing the 5-day-a-week thing, everybody. This is the season after all. So subscribe to the podcast so it's always there waiting for you on your phone. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also subscribe to warchant.com. FSU 1. 2 months, $1 American dollar. Gotta love it. He's Corey. I'm Azal. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.